Alright lads and lasses, my name is Jared Mindtricks and this is my Street Fighter collection. I did a short video just running through it last week. This one I'm going to talk over it. I'm probably going to ramble and go on a bit, but I've got myself a drink, so let's get this done. So start off, Capcom vs SNK on the Dreamcast. This is probably the reason I still keep my Dreamcast about. All my other favourite fighting games on there have been released other places, like your Marvis vs Capcom, Marvis vs Capcom 2, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. But Capcom vs SNK is only on a Dreamcast, well, at least this version. It's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the reasons I bought a Dreamcast, because at the time, well, I never knew it was out on anything else, and I'm not sure it was. Up next to that, we've got Capcom vs SNK Pro. This is the PlayStation version. Kind of the same game, just not as good. It's got fewer frames of animation. I still enjoy it though. I think the main reason I bought that one is because I've got some PlayStation pads for the PS2, so I prefer to use them over the Dreamcast pad. Down over here we've got Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter. This is possibly my favourite Marvel game. I did a video of it earlier on. This version doesn't have the tag functionality, which is kind of lacking, but it's still an awesome game on the PlayStation. I bought this the same day that I got Alpha 3. It was me and my friend Paul got it. But when half as an Alpha 3, he kept the original and I got a copy of it. And here we have Street Fighter Alpha 3. This is like the Platinum version. I can't remember what they would have called this one. Street Fighter Alpha 3, one of my favourite games from the PlayStation 1 era. Absolutely adore that game. I still play it a fair bit. I've also got a digital copy on PSN, the European one. I've also got a digital copy on the American PSN as well. Down here I've got the Street Fighter EX games. I never even knew these existed. I read in a magazine that Street Fighter Collection was coming out for the PlayStation, and having loved Street Fighter up until that point, I thought, Street Fighter Collection's coming, a compilation game, I definitely want that. So I went out to W.H. Smith and Shields, had a look for it, asked for it behind the counter, and said the only Street Fighter game we've got is this Street Fighter EX. So I thought, well, I've got enough for a game. The game I want isn't out yet. I'll get this. It's alright. It's not the best game ever. Soundtrack's class. But I always found it a bit too slow. But at the time, when I got my PlayStation, it was the only Street Fighter game I've got. And then next to it, we've got Street Fighter EX2 Plus. Basically built on the original in almost every single way. It's still an alright game, but I've always preferred the 2D ones. And up next to this, we've got the Marvel vs Capcom games on the Dreamcast. First time I played these was at my friend's Paul's house. He had a Dreamcast and inspired me to get a Dreamcast. I've always preferred the first game over the second one. To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of the second game. It's a bit too crazy for me. I didn't actually get this physical version on the Dreamcast until a couple of years ago, because up until the digital version came out on Xbox Live and PSN, it was ridiculously expensive. But I sorted a game show at Gateshead called NERG, Northeast Retro Gaming. Saw it there at a decent price, so I thought I had to pick it up. First game, Marvel vs Capcom, absolutely adore that, but you can get that in Marvel vs Capcom Origins. Well, you could. And here we have some Street Fighter 3s. Street Fighter 3 Double Impact, which contains New Generation and Second Impact, and then Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Mostly, this is one of the main reasons I bought a Dreamcast as well, because at the time it was the only place that you get Street Fighter 3. The first games are good, but Third Strike is where it is the superior game. And again, Third Strike was released on the console, so you don't really need Dreamcast to play all that stuff. And then we've got Street Fighter Collection games. Street Fighter Collection 1 is Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and then I know this is Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold. Brilliant games if you can get a hold of them now. I mean, you can get them in other formats now, but that was a game I originally wanted to buy when I got Street Fighter EX. Brilliant set of games. Then next to it we got Street Fighter Collection 2. That is Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, and Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. Again, all fantastic games. And then we'll go down here, we've got Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max on the PSP. This game is the reason I bought a PSP. What happened with that? Years ago, I can't remember, maybe it's about 2005. I'd left one job, and after 6 weeks I got into another one, but I'd signed on in that time. They didn't give us any money. I started working pretty much straight away, and then about 6 months down the line I get a letter saying, oh, by the way, we've reevaluated the case, here's some money. So I had a few hundred quid in my bank account. I figured Alpha 3's coming out to PSP, I'll go and get myself a PSP. So I bought the PSP, I got Darkstalkers, I think it's Resurrection, is it possibly called? No, Darkstalkers Chronicle, the KS Tower, that's what it's called, which is kind of like the best of Darkstalkers game. Got that, then a couple of days later got Alpha 3 Max. It's possibly the best version of Alpha 3 you can get, because you got extra characters, you do reverse dramatic battle, which is so much fun. That's where it's 2 characters against you. That is amazing fun. Then next up we've got Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. This is pretty much edition select for Street Fighter 2. This is supposed to be part of Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. And I think it was in the rest of the world, but in Europe, definitely the UK, we didn't get Third Strike on the PS2. We only got this, Hyper Street Fighter 2. My friend Paul got us this for our birthday, I think. It's a classic game, but I think I've always preferred the Alpha ones on PS2. Then next to that, Street Fighter Alpha Anthology. Brilliant game. All 3 Alpha games, different versions of those Alpha games. You get Super Pocket Fighter, is it called, or Super Gem Fighter. Brilliant game. This one, I just went into the local game store, saw it was available, didn't have much money on us, so I asked the guy in the counter how much points I had on my games reward card. Had a certain amount. I basically went outside, rifled through my wallets, picked up all the pennies and all that sort of shit I could find. I was paying for it for 5 pences, 2 pences and shit like that, and I just had enough to buy it. So glad I did, because that game is great. That was a great way to play Alpha, plus it lets you play it in progressive, so it looks great. Street Fighter Ex3 was a launch title on the PS2. I didn't get this until a couple of years ago. It was a couple of quid. I don't particularly like it. By the time I got a PS2, there was other better Street Fighter games out, and other better fighting games, to be honest. I don't think it's that much of a game. I've got a Capcom Classics collection here. This is in here because it's got a Street Fighter 2 World Warrior Champion Edition and Turbo Hyper Fighting included in it. Go down here, we've got Capcom vs SNK 2. Probably my favourite fighting game of all time. Story about this one, which I told in one of my recent videos. When I was working in a local pub, the boss there decided he wanted to get a PS2. Knowing that I like my games and whatnot, he asked me to come along with him and pick out a couple of games. I saw this on the shelf, already having a Dreamcast version. I thought, well, the Dreamcast version, the original. I thought, well, the sequel's got to be awesome. It's a Capcom fighting game. I love me Street Fighter. This will be mint. So I advised him to get it. A couple of days later, he comes up and says, that game you told me to get is absolute shite. He knew I was getting a PS2 off me then girlfriend for Christmas. He said, when you get your PlayStation, you can buy this off me for the same price that I paid for it. So I get it, as I thought it would be. The game is absolutely fantastic. All my friends got into it, Paul, Pete, a few other friends. They all got their own copies. Then a couple of months later after that, we're at the same boss's house having a game at night, playing on the PlayStation. I took along this so me and my friends could play it. This boss watches me and my friends play this and says, this game is amazing, what the hell is it called? And I tap and he will refuse to believe that it's the same game that he gave me Don't know why you would not like that game. It is so fucking good. Then we have Marvis Capcom 2 on PS2. I bought this the same day I got the Dreamcast version. Prices used to be ridiculous for it, but after the digital version came out, the prices went down. They're probably going back up now though, that the digital version is unavailable. Next up we've got Capcom Fighting Jam. Might be known Capcom Fighting Evolution in other places. This one could have been the greatest game ever. When I heard it was in development, I thought this could be class. You could have characters from all the different versions of Street Fighter, or your Darkstalkers games, all sorts of the other. I mean, there's a few of them like Red Earth I never even knew existed until I got this game. But imagine this, all the different versions from all the different fighting games that Capcom made could be fantastic. Bought it, and there's like less than 20 characters. I was completely disappointed with it. I unlocked all the bosses first time through, and I've barely touched it since. Plus, it does not look very good. The animations in the backgrounds look terrible. Then next to that, we've got FVC Chaos, or SNK vs Capcom. I'm not a massive fan of the SNK games. This is basically their take on the Capcom vs SNK. It is a solid game, probably better than Fighting Jam, but it's just not my kind of thing. Then next to that, we've got Street Fighter Anniversary Collection on the Xbox. This is the reason I bought an Xbox, because as I said earlier, we didn't get this game on PlayStation in the UK, and it was another way to play Third Strike. So I got myself an Xbox, mainly for that game. I mean, there's some other things including that, like the Knights of the Old Republic, but that was the main reason I bought it. Next to that, Ultimate Marvis Capcom 3. Not a massive fan of this game, but I do enjoy it. This one I got quite late on. I bought it second hand. I think that was after it got pulled from the PSN and Xbox Live. So at a reasonable price, I thought I best pick that up because the price is only going to get higher. Go a bit further up, and there we have the original Marvis Capcom 3. I think I actually got this after Ultimate on the PS3, but me being the collector I am and all this OCD shit, I saw it at a reasonable price, so I had to get it. Okay, here we have the Art of Street Fighter book. This is the 20th anniversary edition. I do believe they've released one for the 25th anniversary, but there isn't that much extra, and it's about a 20-30 quid book. I got this as a present off my friend Paul. It's where I get a lot of the artwork that I put on the start of my videos and whatnot, and the thumbnails. It's a fantastic book if you like the artwork. Loads of awesome pictures in it. Go down, here is the boxes for my PlayStation 2 Street Fighter pads. I'll go into a bit more detail about these later. Here we have Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior on the Super Nintendo. I didn't get this until very recently. I only got myself a SNES a couple of years ago. But as a kid in the early 90s, one of my best friends had a SNES and this game, and I played a shit ton of it. It is absolutely fantastic. Next up, we've got Marvis Capcom 3 on the 360. I bought this the day it came out. Still think it's an awesome game, but it's a bit too crazy for me. I've never seemed to get the grips with it. Then we go down, we've got Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the SNES. This, I think, is possibly one of the best home versions of Street Fighter ever released. Again, I only got this just recently, but one of my friends had it growing up. Used to play a crap ton of it. Down there, we've got Ultimate Marvis Capcom 3. Game with the other one, I'm not that much of a big fan, but I do enjoy it, play it casually. It is fun, and it's kind of crazy to play with your friends. Then next to that, we have Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition for the Sega Mega Drive. Again, I never had this as a kid. I did have a Mega Drive as a kid, but I never had this version. The game that version of Street Fighter I played most in the house was the Amiga version, which is absolutely horrendous. But I bought this recently. I've still got my Mega Drive. I've cleaned it up, got it working again. it's still an awesome game, especially if you have those 6-button pads. And here we have Street Fighter X Tekken on the 360, the PS3 and the PC. I really enjoy this game. It's just a shame they messed up with the DLC. I can understand why they did it. They tried not to segregate the player base, but they did it in a very dodgy way by having all of that shit on the disc. So it was obvious it was still pretty much ready. They just wanted to charge you for it. And I can understand why people got really annoyed. But the game underneath it is really solid. Once they fixed the original bugs in the online, it was brilliant online. Smooth as butter most of the time. I don't really care for the gems in it. But again, it's a fun game. I really enjoyed playing it. I bought that the day it came out on the Xbox 360. I wish I could have gotten the limited edition version, but apparently their delivery was late with that version. And I wanted the game then and there, so I bought the regular version. Later on, I got the PS3. Then on the PC, I've actually got it digitally on Steam. And because I have to get all the Street Fighters, I bought the box version on Games for Windows Live. So that could probably still be installed, I'd imagine. But I'm not sure how Games for Windows Live is actually working properly anymore. Next to that, we've got Tatsunoko vs Capcom Ultimate All-Stars. This is the only Wii game that I own myself. I saw this for a reasonable price, a local CEX. I figured I kind of like Marvel vs Capcom, I like Capcom vs SNK, and my subconscious need to own all the Street Fighters. I had to pick it up, knowing that my girlfriend has a Wii. It's absolutely fantastic game. Really good fun, really simplistic, but it's excellent fun to play, especially for people that don't like playing that many fighting games, because it is pretty simplistic, pretty easy to pick up. Here we have the Street Fighter 4s. All 4 physical versions there. I bought Street Fighter 4 the day it came out on 360. I was hype as you could be on the morning. I was up about 5:30 in the morning, maybe it was even earlier, waiting for basically the buses to start at a reasonable time so I could get into Shields, pick up my copy. I was watching the trailers for the game, watching all this pre-release footage. Proper hype. I thought the local game store would be open early like it was for things like Warcraft expansions and Call of Duties and things like that. So I was down there about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Shop wasn't open. Like, what the hell? So I went and got myself a Savoy dip, sat on the bench outside game, waiting for it to open. I was standing at the door waiting for it to open. Walk in, asked them for me copy of Street Fighter 4. I didn't want to get the limited edition because I thought the extras were a bit lame, to be honest. Maybe as a collector I should have got it, but I didn't have much money at the time. I asked them if they had any of the Street Fighter pads, because that's what I've had. They didn't. I went along to the game station up the road, got myself a Street Fighter stick, but I'll go into more detail about that when I get to me stick. Next day we've got Super Street Fighter 4. Again, bought this the day it came out. Fantastic game. This is when I started to play Street Fighter Online a lot more. I don't know why it took us this long. Maybe it was because this is when Ibuki came into it, and me playing Ibuki just really clicked. Next up, we've got the Arcade Edition on 360. I already have the digital upgrade of this, but being the collector that I am, I had to get the box version as well. Again with Ultra Street Fighter 4, I already had the digital upgrade to this, but I had the box version, so I bought that the day it came out. So in theory, I could put either Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition or Ultra in my Xbox, and I would always be playing Ultra. Below them, we have the PS3 versions of the same game. I think I mainly got these when I got me PS3, so I could play online without having to pay for it. I think by the time I got my PS3, Arcade Edition was already out, but Again, I saw the originals, the older ones, for a cheaper price, or a decent enough price, so I picked them up as well as part of the collection. And then below that we have the PC editions as well as the 3DS. I got the PC version of Street Fighter 4, thinking I'll be able to go online for free, because Games Windows Live was free on Xbox by that point. I mean, free on PC at that point. Plus, graphics would look better. I had an RE PC at the time, so I picked that up. Really good. That was where I played the majority of my online on Street Fighter 4. I barely touched it on PlayStation or on the Xbox. Next to that, we've got Street Fighter 4 3D edition for Nintendo 3DS. I don't actually own a 3DS, but I saw this for a reasonable price. It's Street Fighter, so I had to pick it up. Next to that, we've got Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. Again, I have the digital version of this on Steam, but I had to get the box version, add to my collection. I ended up giving the code for this to one of my friends, so then he's got this on Steam. And then next to that, we have Ultra Street Fighter 4. Again, with the Xbox One, I already have this digitally, but I want to have the complete set of the boxes, so I bought the box version and then gave the code to my friend Paul. And here we have my Street Fighter 4 arcade fight stick for 360. As I was saying earlier, day Street Fighter 4 came out, I'd pre-ordered it from Game. I asked them if they had either the fight pads, because up until then I'd never really used the stick. I had some of the PlayStation 2 Street Fighter pads, kind of like the old 6-button Mega Drive pads or the Saturn pads. I found them really good. You had access to all 6 buttons with your thumb. I thought they were mint. That's what I planned to get. So Game didn't have any. I walked up the street to Game Station, asked them, do you have any of the pads available? It says no, but we do have these. So they said we have the standard edition fight sticks for 70 quid they were, and they also had some of the tournament edition fight sticks, but they only had the PS3 versions because apparently their staff had already bagsied the Xbox tournament editions. So I thought about getting one of these, and I kind of snapped. I'd never really played a stick before, but I wanted, I don't know, money was burning all in my pocket. Saw this, I had 2 in store, so I bought one of them, went outside, I rang my friend Paul, knowing he likes Street Fighter. Says, look mate, I know you're after one of these fight pads, but they're kind of hard to find at the moment. They've got these arcade sticks for 70 quid. If you want, I'll buy you one, and then you can give us the money when you see us later, because Street Fighter came out, I was having mates around, we're going to have a Street Fighter night. He didn't want one. Apparently he trekked all around Newcastle, all around the Metro Centre. I think he even went to Sunderland. Could not find a single fight pad or a fight stick. And by the time he got into Shields himself, they'd already sold this one. I sold the other copy and the other one anyway. So this is pretty much my first stick. Took us a while to get used to it. In fact, I didn't really like it to begin with. I could not pull off any moves, but it takes a while to get used to it. But once you do, I've found it improved my playstyle so much. You probably see I've modded it. The original buttons were not very good. Pretty much from the first time I tried it, the original A button was a bit dodgy. So once I got into playing online, I got some Samurai parts. So I think that's the JLF, and it's OBSF 30s. Installed them, and they were so much better. The playstyle improved not only beyond using a fight stick, but because the buttons were way more responsive and the joystick is so much better. And for quite some time, this was my main joystick. Till a bit later, me girlfriend got his Combat Q4 REF, which is probably my main now. Lets me play on the 360, PS3 and the PC, and I play most of my stuff on the PC. So that's the Street Fighter 4 stick. I do still enjoy using it. If I'm going around to a friend's house and they've got a 360 or a PC, this will be the one I take just because it's easier to carry. And it's got solid parts in it, it's just not as big as the other ones. And here we have those Street Fighter Anniversary Edition controllers for the PlayStation 2. It also work in the PS1 and they work in the PS3 if you got an adapter for them. I've lifted up top there, you get a certificate with it. There's the Ken one still in the box. The middle, thing in the middle is kind of like a hologram. Ken does his Shoryuken, Ryu does a fireball. Sadly, my Ken pad doesn't work. I think it's probably because it spent most of the time in the box and the cables got kinked or whatever, and then when I take it out the cables broke. I could probably replace it because I do have plenty of PS2 pads. I could probably do a bit of soldering and whatnot, get it working again. But they were solid pads, especially in the PlayStation days before I got a stick. They were really, really good. I loved the hell out of them. Go down here. With them, you got this Street Fighter comic by Udon. They're the guys who did the pictures and the holograms on the front. There's the Ryu pad doing the Hadouken. And there's the comic. Just a little comic. It's pretty decent, but Udon, known for pretty much doing the better Street Fighter comics. They also did the graphics for the Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix on Xbox Live and PSN. I still use the Ryu pad a fair bit, especially if I'm emulating, say, Mega Drive games or whatnot on my PC, or even if I'm playing an older game on a PS2. I might use that. As you can see, some of the stuff starting to get rubbed off because that's the one that I use the most. Meaning Ryu back in them days. Well, I suppose I still do really, but that was my favourite pad. I do have some other little bits here and there, little figures and stuff like that. I may do a picture, but there's no real reason to talk about little figures and stuff that I've got. I've got a couple game guides and things like that, but they're not really special. So that's where I'm going to end this one. I've rambled on a bit. My throat's getting a bit dry, but I hope you've enjoyed this. Do you have any particular favourite Street Fighter games? Do you have a reasonable Street Fighter collection you'd like to share? Put a link in the comments below. So thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully I'll see you again.